all have our trials, but we're never alone. That's what makes our trials triumphant. Trials and Triumphs with your host, Pastor Ladina Boo.
Good morning, it's Ladina Boo from Stockton, Missouri, and we're here on Trials and Triumphs again this morning. And let's see, we have a room full of guests this morning. Dan Keeton.
Hey.
Hey.
Good to see you.
And his beautiful wife, Angelina.
Yes.
I almost put an A on that. She told me she has no A. And Jasmine with a J. So,
Yep.
Jasmine didn't know she was going to get up here on this show this morning. You know, she tried to hide in the corner, but I told her she had to come over here. So I invited them in here this morning. I had told them we could do 3 weeks as we wanted to here, but this morning we're going to focus on Dan.
Okay.
And Dan's testimony.
Sure.
And so I was looking through your Facebook page. You know, I'm a stalker that way when I'm bringing people on here. Yeah, so I was reading your testimony a few weeks back. You know,
right.
March 18th, you started putting your testimony on there. And
sure.
You were talking about you were originally from Detroit. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your walk and how you got here?
Awesome. Well, I was, my mom and dad were, said they were, driving, looking at the river. And my mom said, he's coming. So, I was born in Detroit. And I grew up, been through child abuse, which wasn't with dad and my mother. My dad divorced my mother. I was about 4 years old, and married another woman. And most of the time, the state will give custody of the children to the mother. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how all that worked out, but I ended up with my dad and my stepmother, which is where the abuse happened. And then I went to school one day with marks on me so bad that the teacher and the principal put me in their car and they took me to the police station. Well, back then, there wasn't a lot of attention on, being abused, that kind of thing. So I actually contacted the police department for some kind of record, some kind of report that I had been there. And there was a report that I had been there, and it just said child abuse. That's just 2 words. Like, okay. So the state.
The sad thing in this country is all of our child abuse laws are based on animal abuse. Animals.
Really?
Yeah. Animals, they were more concerned about them being abused in the past, and then they would turn around and wrote the child abuse laws.
Well, yeah. I didn't know that. So they, the state decided, of course, they, decided the state they had to do something. So they took me. I remember they took me to this psychiatrist's office and started showing me pictures. What do you see in this ink blot? What do you see that? He said, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not the troubled one here. I'm not the one who did the problem. So anyway, they decided that they would put me into my stepmother's mother's house, my step grandparents. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and that's where I went from the student's house to the teacher's house.
Yeah,
and things like kneeling on beams. Till your knees bleed. I mean, I don't know. They were. I don't know. They were Polish, I think. And I don't know who comes up with this stuff, but making you eat paper until you puke. Mm-hmm. Or I was punched in the face. I remember tasting my own blood from my stepmother punched me in the face. And she would come into your room at night, and she'd go in there and she'd turn the light on and look at you. And I guess if your eyes went, I know you can't see this, but if your eyes moved, she wouldn't say anything. She'd just start beating me, and then ask me why I wasn't asleep.
Well, it's hard to sleep when somebody's hitting you.
But of course, the state decided they'd fixed it all, put me back in with my dad and my stepmother. Problem solved. No, the problem wasn't solved. It just kept happening. So my dad decided one day that we were going to leave. So me and my dad and my stepmother, me and my dad and my brother got on a Greyhound bus from Detroit to Litchfield, Kentucky to live with Grandma, who loved us a bushel and a peck.
Yep.
And a hug around the neck.
Hug around the neck.
That's right.
We actually found a plaque of that.
And a song.
And a song. We actually sing that. And from there, I mean, of course, life got so much better. I found Grandma's box of gospel music underneath her living room table. And pulled out a cassette, and on the front of it said, "Wanted Live, the Happy Goodman Family." That's odd. I took a tape, put it in the tape player, pressed play. And who knew pressing play on a cassette player would change your life?
Yep.
It's like, we're reinforcing the stage. The Happy Goodman family is big folks, you know. Mm-hmm. And all my life, I want to be just like the Happy Goodman family. And I've just about made it. So, the end of that tape, Sister Vestal Goodman, she said, "You could be one of God's children. Why you sit and listen to this?" Mm-hmm. What? Wait just a minute. All my life, I've been told I was going to amount to nothing. But you mean to tell me all that stuff they told me was wrong? I'm worthless.
Yep.
I'm going to end up in prison. I'm going to end up an alcoholic. I'm going to end up a child molester or a wife beater or a thief or a murderer, because that's just what happens to you when people like you grow up.
Right.
But God had other plans.
Yeah.
Some of them set up a tent across the street from Grandma's house. I thought the circus had come to town. I was like, well, this is pretty cool. But it wasn't a circus. It was a tent revival. And me and my grandma, my dad, my brother, walked across the street to sit in the back row and listen to this great music. Brother Roger Goosetree, guy playing a guitar. I remember their names. Uh-huh. Brother Layman Napper from DePaul, Indiana. LAMONNAPPER. He used to say. But he used to, I remember it. Mm-hmm. And he said, God's got something great for you. He's got something wonderful for your life, but you got to give him your heart first.
Yep.
So I walked across the grass, knelt at a altar of old wooden folding chairs, and asked Jesus Christ to come into my life. And then it took off like a rocket.
Yep.
My dad left my grandma's house. I didn't know where he went. He drove to Springfield, Missouri to get someone dear to me. She was going to college here at the Evangel. Mm-hmm. So a couple days later, Daddy's station wagon, you know, the ones with the wood panel on the side?
Yeah.
Daddy's station wagon pulled back up into Grandma's house. And in the passenger seat was my mama.
Oh, wow.
And they were married again 3 days later.
That's amazing.
She lives here now. She lives right here and down the street. Daddy passed away in 1998. Yeah. But he made his life right.
Your mom just had a small stroke or something too, didn't she?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, she did, but she's back to being ornery.
Well, that's good. All mothers should be ornery. Just ask my children.
That's exactly right. So I joined a gospel quartet from Litchfield, Kentucky called the Veterans Quartet. Mm-hmm. We'd sing in churches and that kind of thing. And the old man come out and he said, I stepped off the bus. He looked at me and said, "You ain't no veteran."
You were 16, right?
I was 16 years old. You ain't no veteran. Like, well, we're supposed to be veterans of gospel music, which I wasn't that either. But anyway. But all through the years, all the way, and I actually went to this church. I bought my first car, a green and rust Plymouth Volare.
They were all green and rust, weren't they?
Yes, they were. And I filled it with gas, and because they told me that a group called the Gold City Quartet was coming to Beaver Dam, Kentucky, the Ridgecrest Baptist Church. I was like, and I heard them on the radio. Oh man, this was great. So I got there 4.5 hours early.
Well, you have to get a good seat.
Yes, that's right. So they got there, and I watched them load in, watched them set up and rehearse, and sit that back row the whole time, just soaking it all in. I thought, I know what I want to do with my life. I know what I want to do. I want to sing with a group just like that one. I want to sing with a gospel group just like that one right there.
Well, you managed to do that.
So
times, haven't you?
I got my card all home. Prayed, oh God, please, if you could see fit, just I want to sing with a group like that one.
Mm-hmm.
So 40 years later, God said we could do better than a group just like that one. How about that one? I did. I auditioned 3 times, but
Yeah.
I got the job. Gold City Quartet.
Well, that's,
Years later, and then
I
2000.
love listening to them.
Oh, still wonderful, still wonderful. And I just every night for 2.5 years, just sitting there pinching myself, going, "Is this really happening to me? Am I really standing here singing?" And Tim Riley, the bass singer, on the end, we had ear monitors, and just turn him up, turn him up. He sounds great. I want to listen to him sing. So 2017, we were inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame
That's amazing.
with the Gold City Quartet.
Yeah.
And I've got to sing in Paris at the American Cathedral in Paris. Got to sing the Friday Mission Lunch. I didn't get paid for going. People are like, "Oh, you just suckering people for money." No, I spent the only money I made driving bus to go to Paris and sing at the American Cathedral. They didn't get paid for it. They had a Friday Mission Lunch. It's about 70 homeless people right there. And it's just been such a journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, God makes all things possible. If you think God is not going to make a way for you, you need to pray a little bit harder, because He will sooner or later, when it's His time.
That's right. Every day you begin the day thinking, "Oh, how am I going to do this? I'm going to worried about what? How am I going to do this? How am I going to pull this off? How am I going to make that happen?" And then before the day's over, you can see God's hand just moving you, and
Yeah, kind of moves the pieces.
kind of like, "Hey, watch this," because you can sit here and try to explain to me that there is no God, and all this stuff just happens by chance.
It never happens by
It's
chance.
never just by chance.
No.
God is so real, and so real in my life, in Angeline's life, in Jasmine's life. She was just real short. She was a kid. When she was a kid, her mom and dad were evangelists. Later on in life, she got the wrong crowd, addicted to heroin, went to a friend's house and shot up in the neck. Made it to the car, but passed out. The rest of the emergency room, where they pronounced her dead for 5 minutes. But here she is. Right
Yeah,
here.
she's right there.
The next,
You sing with Him also.
the very next day, she was out of the hospital. Never touched it again. 14 years clean.
That's always amazing. My stepson was a heroin addict for a number of years, and then God got a hold of him, and he's doing wonderful these days. I'm just so proud of him. And his wife, she was also a drug addict. She didn't do heroin though. She was a crack addict.
Right.
And she's clean now, and she's, speaking into her life, had let God speak into her life, and she's doing wonderful these days too. I'm just so proud of that couple.
That's what God can do.
Yeah.
That's what God can do. And there's grandmas and moms out there, dads, just praying for the children going through that kind of thing. You have to keep praying.
Yep.
Don't get discouraged, because He's hearing you.
Yep.
He's hearing you. Jesus changes people, and He doesn't need a 12-step program to do it.
No.
Not that the 12-step program is bad, but Jesus can come in and change what's broken. Put it all back together. And that's that's the point.
Well, I had a friend, he was a veteran, and I took care of him for a number of years before he died. And it was amazing to me because I spent one whole year with him pretty much in the hospital.
Mhm.
And they called me one day and they said, well, we've got him in ICU. We don't think he's going to last through the night or whatever. Or, next couple of days, he's probably going to pass. And so I got on the phone with one of the guys who was here, Dennis Code, and his healing ministry and his wife and so forth. And I said, I need you to meet me at the hospital. And he's like, okay, what are we doing? I said, we're praying for my friend. And so he come down to the hospital, and it was amazing to the doctors because they couldn't figure out what we were doing. I took this entire group of people into the ICU. You can't do that. You want to watch me? So we anointed over the door with oil and everything. We went in and we prayed for him and everything. And the doctor called me the next day and said he can go home tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Yep.
Hey, it works.
Yeah,
It sure does.
it does.
Prayer works.
If you just are faithful to that, he
It
will.
does. It
Yeah.
does.
And believe.
If it doesn't work, it's because the Lord wanted them to go home
Right.
at that
Right.
point.
Mhm.
Some people are just tired and they want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike didn't want to go home just yet.
That's right. But thank God for praying grandmas,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
because where would we be?
Yeah, my grandmother, I know, prayed for us all the time, and I rested in that. And I actually preach at the church where we all grew up in it, little one-room church, out in the middle of the country. You got,
They have a wood stove in there?
we had one, we got rid of the wood stove, and after the day that the stovepipe fell down, and place is filling up with smoke, and my uncle had to put a pew up there and climb to the top of it and put the
Because it reminded me of that first group I sang with. We would the guy who ran the group, his church out in the country, just like a little church, had the wood stove in the middle of the room with the pipe going up. And I remember us freezing cold, starting a fire in that wood stove so we could rehearse and practice.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
We've got propane stoves now, but I still have to go in and turn them on
That's
to
right.
the church on Sunday morning.
It's still cold.
Yeah.
So, and for the past 5 years I came to Branson, Missouri, asked a buddy of mine, I said, is anybody looking for singers? He said, yeah, come on up here. I started doing a show with Jerry Presley, God and Country Theater, does Elvis. Elvis always had a quartet, backing him up. J.D. Son of the Stamps,
Yeah.
the Imperials, the Jordanaires, and Jerry's group, they needed a tenor singer, so okay.
You can move that back a little bit if it's trying to attack you.
So I got to sing back up with Jerry, and then Brandon May asked me, they're starting a gospel show, want to know if I'd be a part of it. Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's 5 years ago. And my last day was April the 2nd. We dedicated our life to full-time ministry, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, I'm sure you'll do well at it. And
I
you've
hope so.
got a big bus that you want everybody to sign.
Yes,
you know?
yes. We on because she had been to prison, and I asked her the day, because God blessed us with a bus. That bus is an old prison bus, and it had got a guard door in the back, and it wasn't very fancy. It was just hard seats, up there, and we were blessed with that, and we were traveling. And I asked her the other day, I said, did you ever travel to ride in a prison bus? Yes. Yeah.
Very uncomfortable, too.
Yes, that was very good.
And besides that, they don't let you move around.
No, because you got
No,
your
they
hands
got you-
behind your back tied up, you got your legs tied up, and you can only move
Ain't it great to be?
ways.
Ain't it great to be free? Ain't it to be free in Jesus? Jesus changes, frees people.
Yes,
Free,
amen.
and so it's kind of it was we talking the other day about God just moving things around.
Mhm.
Who know? We're going to buy a bus, and buses are expensive.
Oh, yeah. They're horrible.
This one here.
You can't buy a car right now for less than what I paid for my first house.
That's right.
Right.
They should put insurance on it too. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we were blessed with it, and I'll just tell you, we gave $7,000 for it. is a 1999 model MCI. Used to be a prison bus, and operated by the government.
Mm-hmm.
So it runs great. You didn't want to be stuck out in the middle of the desert with a bus full of criminals
No, that could get nasty
on the side of the
out
road.
there.
So,
I've watched movies about that.
oh,
Yeah.
so we launched a campaign just Sunday. We're going to get five. We're going to get 1 million signatures.
Uh-huh.
We want 1 million people changed by Jesus Christ. If Jesus has saved your life, we want you to take a pen and sign this bus. We're going to get 1 million signatures on this bus. We're going to put it on the wheels, on the side, on the windows, on the dash. We go
And you're
wherever
going
you
to bring
sign.
by so we can take pictures of it and show them on
Yes.
our shows?
Yes. If you go to our website, you can go to mercyonamerica.org or anamericantenor.com and see the bus. Go to our, our appearances page, schedule page, and there's pictures of it there, of the bus with no name. Always got one name on it. Mine.
Wait, you
Right
haven't
now.
let your wife sign it yet?
She hasn't signed it yet. And you know, and if,
probably hid the pin.
and I was no. And because here's a question. I'll just throw this out there. If anybody has more knowledge than I do, the side of the bus is all white, and that's where we want most of the signatures. But we want to like sand the spot where they sign it. We don't want it to wash off. So
Right.
if anybody has more knowledge than I do about that, give me tips about how to keep it from fading or washing it off or whatever. We're going to, my thought is to sand the spot. We would cover it with clear coat when they just spray
Right.
that on there, so it doesn't come off. And so I'm asking because I don't know. But I do know God wants to put 1 million signatures on the bus, but
Yeah.
I want them to stay. I don't want them to wash off.
And you're going to go invest in a bunch of magic markers.
Magic mark, yeah, Sharpie is going to.
Sharpie is going to have a lot of business here coming up.
Right.
So,
But they do make like paint pens. I know that,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
yeah, they're difficult to write with. I've tried that.
Oh, really? Well, that's enough
Yeah.
because see, that's like that.
You know?
People know more than I do about that, but
Yeah.
I do know that that's the goal.
Mhm.
And we're already that asked us to come to Oregon. We're scheduled to be in Kentucky, Ohio, and so like Kentucky, which is just when I talk about her. Jasmine here was born with what they call Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, and no offense, but to look at her, people have thought autism, but it's not.
Mhm.
It's not autism. If you look at Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, there's a lot of things in her life she's dealt with, like one side of her body grows faster than the other.
Yeah.
Inside, even internal organs, even on the outside, the left side, look at her hands, arms, leg, and her feet, and so much so her feet that she has to buy 2 different size shoes. And just if you not tell Walmart we do that, we'd appreciate it.
Well, if you gotta have 2 different size shoes, you gotta have
Well,
2
that's
different
right.
size shoes.
But she is the most sweet, compassionate person you'll ever want to meet.
Yeah, she hugged me today. She's on my friend day, so she's my friend now.
And
Always.
and I'll just tell you, I'll just tell you, we talk about it all the time, how we strive to be more like Jasmine when
Yeah.
dealing with people,
Uh-huh.
because some people irritate me. just being honest. But for
Well-
her, I mean, she, just so loving and compassionate and kind, considerate. I thought, I want to be more like Jasmine.
Yeah.
I mean, she did a lot of surgeries, everything. She always came out with a smile on her face.
Well, you had to have a lot of surgeries, Jasmine.
Yeah.
So how many do you think you've had in your life?
5.
5?
4. 4.
And you're how old?
Almost 23.
What? See, that's pretty good because I've had way more surgeries than that, and I think the doctor owns more of my parts than I do.
When she was younger, when she was born, she had to have ultrasounds done every month
Oh,
on
wow.
her stomach just to make sure there's nothing like cancer or anything in there growing. And make sure her heart, everything on her left side's bigger than her right side. So that's her heart, her lungs.
Well, you see, that's why you
Hands,
love her.
feet.
You get a bigger heart.
Yeah.
If we all had a bigger heart like you, we'd be good.
Too bad I don't have a bigger brain.
We're not going to talk about that.
Let's not.
It's true.
Jasmine with a J.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes, I'm Jasmine with a J. She got him that time.
She usually does. It's true. Yeah.
So do you sing with them too?
Yes, I sing with my dad.
Well, good for you.
She sure does.
You know, and you probably do a wonderful job. Are you going to take over his job when he's
Trying to.
You're not supposed to tell all your secrets.
Well, it's not a secret. We've been discussing
Oh,
this
yeah,
for a
well.
while, you know, how to take over your show and your bus. And
Yeah.
So I don't like to drive that far anymore. So
Yeah, that's. I know. Millions of miles I've traveled. Every state, Canada, Mexico. Oh gosh, millions of miles.
yeah, my dad was a truck driver, and he
Yeah.
always got made fun of because he'd come around vacation time and he'd take us all out to California or someplace. It's like a mailman going for a walk on his day off.
They, of course, we were married 5 years ago, and I think God decided I needed 4 teenagers all at once.
Of course.
Because I can't have children, but I did get some of those loving kids you could ever want. And a couple years ago, we was like, because they'd never been anywhere. They'd been through the things they'd been through with their parents. They lived with their grandparents. They're kind of like the same thing that I had to go through, where troubles in your life, and I have to deal with this and that. You shouldn't have to grow up that way.
Yeah.
And when we got together, I said, "So you've never seen the ocean?" No. Ever been to Disney World? No. So that year, I sent him this email, and I said, "Surprise, we're going to Disney World. We may have to climb over the back fence to get in, but we're going to Disney World." So we started this trip from here to Ohio to see their grandparents and their family, and then went on to Maryland to see our daughter, and then that's the wrong trip.
We went to Florida.
I told her. I said, it's our brain.
We went to Florida.
We eventually made it to Florida, where we had spent all the money for fuel, and we were. I promised these kids they were going to Disney World, and I didn't have any money left. But I had one more date at this church on Sunday morning. And we got in there, and I introduced them to Jasmine and told them our story, and introduced them to the kids and what they had been through. And I said, so tomorrow the plan is to go to Disney World. You may have to climb over the back fence to get in, but we're going to Disney World. And that church took up $2,700 to send them kids to Disney World.
Awesome.
And get us back home. So we didn't have to climb over the fence.
Yep.
That was God.
Yep. That love offering comes in handy whenever you need something.
It does. And some of the best pictures of these children are them at Disney World. The biggest smiles on the face. After everything they've been through, after all the troubles and trials and heartaches, for God to finally turn things around and give us fun. Jasmine?
Yeah.
Life should be fun.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Me either.
Yeah.
I'm having fun now.
I'm having fun. I always have
This is
fun
a lot of
down
fun.
here. I love coming down here. It's a whole lot nicer down here than trying to get past 800 Amish buggies.
Oh, yeah.
But whatever, I'm going into Amish land this afternoon, take one into the doctor. So.
Well, I just want to know, we appreciate it. We appreciate letting us come and share
Well, I want to hear every one of your testimonies, and so you're going to have to bring the girls back so that they can
Absolutely.
take over the stage too.
Then they can do it. I promise you
good
that.
for them. I'm looking forward to it because I already told them. I said, we can take 2, 3, 4 weeks, and we can do whatever we want around here because the boss is gone.
Oh, well, our purpose is just, to share the things that we've been through personally, and let you know that Jesus can take care of all of it.
Yep.
If we let him.
Yeah, I took over 90 kids when my kids were younger. Everybody else's kids brought home cats and dogs. My kids brought home
4 was a
kids.
lot.
Right.
4 was a lot.
Yeah, we started out with a bunch of boys, and
Bless your heart.
they were all teenagers because there was Crips and Bloods and Latin counts in the house and so forth. And it's like there's no fighting in my house.
Right.
But they all left with a high school diploma, and nobody killed each other in the house, And if they tried, I took them outside. And
That was a miracle.
well, I had a black belt.
Oh, well.
And it's like, okay, don't start that in my house. I will take you outside and I will hold you down with one finger. And they never liked that. So.
I don't guess.
But you've got to get the kids out. You got to bring the kids into Christ. You got to be able
Sure.
to show them what He's done for your life, and don't let them fall victim to the lies of the world. It's a difficult time enough without falling victim to the lies.
That's why I've loved what I've been able to do, God. And and I told her this a while ago. I can point people to the stage with the bright lights, or I got to go to Paris, or sing at the American Cathedral. I got to sing on the ball knobbers, and I got to do this or that, the other. And I told her, I said, but you know what the best part is? The places I've been, like the school, or the prison. I've sung in prisons, or the nursing home, or the senior citizen center. That I've got to one-on-one with. I've cried with prisoners, and I've inspired forgotten grandparents. And God has been able to take me places where He would just show me this is what ministry is all about.
That's right.
It ain't about the stage and the lights.
No, it's one-on-one.
It is. And I've sat on the front row of a huge church full of people when I'd give an invitation, and a little 4-year-old girl came forward, sat down on the front row. And I said, repeat after me. Lord Jesus. And that little girl, in that little bitty voice, Lord Jesus. And from across the universe, Jesus, whatever He was doing, come and sat next to her. Yes, honey.
You've got to be able to do that with people. You bring them to the loving knowledge of what Jesus Christ will do in their life.
If I don't sing another note, if I don't perform on another stage, I want that. I want those kind of things.
Well, Matt's wandering around. We've only got 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
You're going to sing us a song today?
Well, I can't sing. It's too early in the day. I can't sing. But we got one here. I'll play you.
Okay.
I promise you, it'd be a whole lot better if I play you this. But this,
he is a musician. He is a singer. So we want that to come out today because you reach a lot of people that way.
We do. And this song here I wrote back in 1997. And I sang it for the last 5 years, different places in Branson. I recorded it. It's called Mercy on America.
Oh, that's the one I wanted to hear today.
Are we ready? All right.
In a time so confusing, when the truth cannot be found, there are so many broken lives in a place where sin abounds. Throw our founding fathers worked so hard to make this land our home. Tears would fill their eyes to see what we've become. Lord, please have mercy on America again. As we kneel today, we need your grace as we humble ourselves and pray. We're returning to pray that you forgive us of our sin and have mercy on America again. As a country, we're still divided, while so many lose their souls. Be one nation under God, we should have one goal. So let's lay aside our differences, and together we will stand, and we'll ask the Lord in heaven above, come heal our wounded land, and He will have mercy on America again. As we kneel today, we need your grace as we humble ourselves and pray. We're returning to pray that you forgive us of our sin and have mercy on America again. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam, God bless America, my home sweet home, where I will stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. Lord, I love this land. God bless the U.S. and have mercy on our nation again.
That is probably the most awesome outro I could have on my show this morning. Oh, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
You know, our nation needs a lot of mercy right now.
It does.
We need
I
to
wrote
get-
it back in 1997, believe it or not.
Yep.
And it,
I was 17.
I was, I re-listened to the radio and I thought, gosh, if my people called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin and heal their land. What more do we need today?
Yep.
That
verse has been hanging on my church wall since World War II. A lady made it by hand, and it's still hanging on my church wall.
it is true. So we're going to put that mercyonamerica.org is where that song is. There's a video, there's a audio, we have shirts with that on it. We're returning to pray that you forgive us of our sin. Have mercy on America again on the back of the shirt.
The shirts are awesome.
So
Yeah, I've seen them on his Facebook page.
and those are available. And if you want to, it just helps us buy fuel. If you drop a couple dollars, right down there, got to put up there my tip jar my mama made for me. I was singing at a flea market, and she said, "Here, put that on the table. People like you're singing, to put a little tip box." So I set it out there and sang everything I know, did the best I could. When I opened up the lid, there's empty coffee creamer and a package of salt in it.
Well, Matt's turning us off now, so thank you all for joining us, and hopefully Keatons will come back and see you.
Yes.
Bless you.